Hey, 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 girlfriends. Come on in, come on in. Welcome into the Tuesday Tea with me, Christy. I have been doing this for over 2 years now, coming in here and sharing the tea. Now, it says my business. I like to mind my business, but I'm going to get a little bit into yours as well. But the goal is for me I aspire to inspire you to be better, show up better, and be a leader for yourself in your life, and that will translate to being a leader to others in their life. Now, I started this years ago, I guess as a child, right? I have been a reader, and they say leaders are readers, and that's probably why I've been able to lead so many people, even as a child, to doing things in my peers, and as well as being an adult, leading my peers to doing bigger and better things. Well, as an adult, as a mom, as a wife, as a leader in my career as an educator, that became an assistant principal, I didn't make it a priority to be able to continue to read. I didn't put it in my schedule. I didn't make time for it. I didn't think it was as important. And then I read the book Atomic Habits. Now, what I did before I read Atomic Habits is I came in here and I was sharing with you things that I thought would help my followers in life as business owners, as well as women who follow me in business and purchase my products and my services. And I was like, you know what? I really need to read more. I want to grow as a leader. I want to grow as a level 3 leader or to a level 4 leader, or even being able to identify what level 4 leader is and deciding if I even want that. And I'm going to need to read to do this. And so where can I put my reading and my schedule where it would work? And I decided Tuesday tea. If I'm going to say I'm going to talk about a book in here, then I actually have to read it. Now, that process has gotten so much better over the years. It used to be that I would be up at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Monday, or actually Tuesday morning, finishing reading and taking notes so I could be in here to talk to you on Tuesday. And now it's gotten where I read a little bit every single day, and I'll take the book and break it up. Like this week, I have to have this many pages done. That means every day I need to read this many pages. And I'll end my day by helping myself, my mind calm down and get into a sleeping mode by reading at night. So Atomic Habits taught me that to attach something new I want to do to something I'm already doing. And so I am here now as a full-time business owner, sharing with you the books that I have outlined to read for myself throughout the entire year. Now, announcement. Here's an announcement right here. The Tuesday Tea will no longer be taking place on my business page where I sell my product. The last month of that is this current month. And if you're watching this live, it's in February 11th. No, I'm sorry, February the 13th, 2024. And this will be the last month that I will be going live on my business page where I sell my product. I will be going live and I will be sharing different trainings. I'll be sharing business building tips on this business page and on my personal page and my YouTube and my other business pages. I'll be sharing the Tuesday tea because it fits that crowd better than this crowd over here. So I've enjoyed sharing it with you, and you know want to catch it, you can catch it on my personal page with many of you have already over there listening to the Tuesday tea on there. And then if you've been looking for me to give you business tips on how to grow your accessories business, then you'll find me on my business page, Cuter Than Most Accessories. So just putting that out there, and I'll remind you leading up to it. So in March, you won't find me on my jewelry business page. I'm excited about that change. And let's jump into it. So watch you listen to me over the years. I had 5 years now, if you're watching this at the time that I'm recording it, I have been a full-time business owner, and I left my career as an elementary educator. And I'm excited to be able to share with you as I learn and grow and read and give you some way that you can learn and grow through reading. So what book are we on? We are on The Art of Thinking Clearly. Love this book. It has come up in so many different ways as I have been talking on my podcast and I have been sharing with other people. I'm like, oh, as I'm reading The Art of Thinking Clearly, this applies to what we're talking about now. One of the topics was self-care and putting yourself first so that you can help others from a full cup and not from empty cup. Well, this part that I will talk about today runs from page 80 to page 154. But I'm not talking about that because that includes how many lessons of thinking clearly or how many thoughts about thinking clearly. It includes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna count all that. It goes from 28 to 51. So the main 3 or 4 that I'll talk about today are going to be, don't expect a zebra, base rate neglect. When you hear hoofbeats, don't expect a zebra. And that is having to do, what do I have back here? Sitting on something. My stand is sitting on something. Let me clear that out of the way so we don't have that. Oh, a necklace, of course. All right, so this one I want to talk on because it talks about retention. People are always asking me all the time, since I have a huge team that ranges all over 50 states, including Puerto Rico and Guam. And as I'm building a new business, they're always asking me about retention. Can you train us on retention? So I really want to touch on that one because that touches on so many things. When we talk about retaining people in our companies, in our businesses, in our careers, and things of that nature. You might even think about it in your relationship. Like, how do you retain hold on to a good relationship, right? And then the other one I was going to talk about is why evil is more striking than good, loss aversion, and why teams are lazy, social loafing. Now, retention, I feel like that's like a opposites. We're talking about retention, then we're talking about teams being lazy. And if time permits, I will go into the other one, which is why attractive people climb the career ladder more quickly. It's called the halo effect. And there's so many more, all right? So I'm going to implore you to go get this book and read it for yourself. But let me tell you some things that it talks about in this other area. In these pages that leads to page 154. Live each day as if it were your last, but only on Sundays. That's funny. I love to know what that's about. Be wary when things get off to a great start. Beginner's luck. Ooh, I feel like that goes into people who grew their businesses, started a business, and grew it really big during the pandemic. Beginner's luck. Sweet little lies, cognitive dissonance. What's some other one? It's not what you say, but how you say it. Framing. I might touch on that one while I'm in here too. All right, so let's get to it. Come on in here, say hi, don't be a stranger. I've given you what I'm talking about. So if you know somebody who needs to be here for this, then go ahead and tag them in it so they can catch the replay about retention, why evil is more striking than good, why teams are lazy. Let's jump into it. All right, so the first page is going to be I'm going to go over, because I have notes in all these areas, page 80, or I think it's 82. I love about these sections, they're like 2 or 3 pages. So if you're not liking one idea, you'll be on the next one in 1 or 2 pages. Great chapter about recruiting and retention. Like, that's the note I put there. Great chapter about recruiting and retention. He starts off by saying, Mark is a thin man from Germany with glasses who likes to listen to Mozart. All right, you got a picture. I'm sure you got a picture in your head of who Mark is who listens to Mozart in Germany. Which is more likely for Mark, who listens to Mozart and lives in Germany? Is he A, a truck driver, or is he B, a professor of literature in Frankfurt? All right, drop that in the comments. What do you think Mark is? Is he A, a truck driver, or B, a professor of literature in Frankfurt? So drop the A's and the B's in the comments, and let's see what you come up with. Okay, all right, so I'm sure those will keep coming in because there's always a delay, but it says most will bet on B, which is wrong. Germany has 10,000 times more truck drivers than Frankfurt has literature professors. Therefore, it is more likely that Mark is a truck driver. So what does he say? I'm literally just reading this. Okay. What is he saying? What just happened? The detailed description enticed us to overlook statistical reality. Scientists call this fallacy base rate neglect. Somebody drop it in a comment. Base rate neglect is what we just did if we commented B, okay? It's a disregard of the fundamental distribution levels. Now, I'm a math person, not a math person, but I am a statistics and a data person. I like to make decisions, which some people will be like, you're not taking consideration of my feelings. I could go into a whole reason of my opinion, but I'm just going to stick to the book for the moment, okay? So he says, it is one of the most common errors in reasoning. We are talking about a book that is the art of thinking clearly. The idea is that we think clearly based on concrete principles, ideas, and data, not based on how people feel. Okay. Like if you're in business and you're making a decision on what you want to buy as a product for your customer based on how you feel. Oh, this is so cute. My customer's going to love this. Based on what is cute based on? Are your customer going to love this based on the fact that you looked at what they bought and what they bought shows that they're going to love this? Or is it just an opinion? Okay, let me go back to the book. Virtually, it says all journalists, economists, and politicians fall for it on a regular basis. All right, here's a second example. All right, that first one didn't get you. Let's try a second example. A young man is stabbed and fatally injured. Which of these is more likely? A, the attacker is a Russian immigrant and imports combat knives illegally, or the attacker is a middle-class American. You know the drill. Drop an A or a B in the comments. A young man is stabbed and fatally injured. What is he most likely to be attacked by? A, the Russian immigrant, or B, a middle-class American? Which I got. A's or B's. Now, based on the first one that we did it with the with the German person who listens to Mozart, more of you may have picked B. It says B is much more likely because there are 1 million times more middle-class Americans than there are Russian knife importers. This is also true. So I'll give you an example. So we'll do part number 3. I won't give you an A and B, but somebody posted on, one of my Facebook friends posted that when she gets in there, it was a picture or a meme it was a reel of a woman in her 30s getting ready to take off on a flight. And before you turn your cell phones off, she's texting her parents that she's on the plane and she'll text when she arrives. And she was like, her mom has gotten on her so many times, and now this is her routine. She gets on an airplane, she texts and says she's about to take off. She'll text or call when she arrives. And I was like, oh, sounds like my mom. My mom is always like, you didn't tell me you were going. Like, it's for some, that parent sixth sense. For some reason, like she'll text me when I'm at the airport or give me a call when I'm at the airport. And she was like, hey, and I was like, oh, I'm about to fly out. You didn't Christy, what if something happens? And I don't even know, like something happens to the airplane. I don't even know that you're on that airplane. I'm watching it on the news and have no idea you're on it. And I like roll my eyes. I'm like, statistically, I should really be texting you or calling you every time I get in my car, because you could be watching on the news a 6-car pileup on highway 285 or 20 or whatever interstate I'm on, 75, 85. And there's a better chance that I am in that car pileup than I am of anything happen to me on any of my flights, statistically. But when do people ask us to let them know? When do our parents or our loved ones want to know when we have gotten on an airplane or arrived somewhere, or when do they want us to contact them? When we're on a flight, when we're going to a foreign land like Bahamas or some islands or a trip to Europe or Africa, they want us to keep tabs on us then, but we are statistically less likely for anything to happen to us on any of those trips than we are to just going to the grocery store down the street. That is an example of this bait, rate, neglect. Now, how does this work for recruiting and retention? Glad you asked. We're going to go over, because this chapter, this section is only going to last like 0.25 minutes, like not long at all. So one of the things I underline in this is on page 84. It says, this goes to the title of this section, where it says, you hear hoofbeats behind you, don't expect to see a zebra. What does this mean? Investigate the most likely ailments before you start diagnosing exotic diseases, even if you are a specialist in that. Doctors are the only professional who enjoy this base rate training. All right. The probability, so he says here, I'm going to keep reading this. Regrettably, few people in business are exposed to base rate training. Now and then he sees a high-flying entrepreneur business plans and gets very excited by their products, ideas, and personalities. But he often catches himself thinking, this could be the next Google. Like, you get excited about a business opportunity out there, but if you glance at base rate, brings him down back to earth, because the probability that a firm will survive the first 5 years is 20%. This is why when I make decisions to be a part of a business, at minimum, they need to be in business 5 years, because I'm not trying to put all my eggs in this basket and you haven't even made it through the 5-year mark, and only 20% of companies are going to make it past that point. So when I say I have been in business full time, relying on my own ability to run a business for 5 years, that is a lot to holler about. Not relying on a paycheck from a company or corporation that's been around for more than 5 years, but literally on my own, okay? This is also why quitting before year 1 is not a good determinant of whether or not your business is going to be successful. So he says, what then is the probability that they will grow into a global corporation? They're almost zero. There's almost zero probability that a business is going to grow to being a global corporation. The Warren Buffett quote explained why he does not invest in biotech companies. How many of these companies ever make revenue of several $100 million? It simply does not happen. This is how Warren Buffett is profitable, because he's looking at the base rate neglect and determining that based on probability, it's not a good idea for me to put my money in this unless I just feel like throwing it away. If you have it to throw away, that's how the rich get richer, because they have it to throw away, so they can throw it away on, let's say they give their money to 100 different startups. 20 of them are going to be good. But can they afford to lose the money they put into 80 of them? If they can take that risk. But a lot of us see Jeff Bezos, or we see Mark Urban, or name anybody who is rich right now, and we see their 20% wins. We didn't see their 80% losses. And so we expect to be able to put in and get the win, not knowing we didn't lose 80%. Like, almost the way I would think is going in expecting 80% wins, losses, so I can get 20% wins. That's literally like one of the things that I'm working on now is for every 20, you're going to get 4 closes. Well, I don't know which one is going to be the close. I don't even care. I just know I got to get 20 of them so I can get 4 wins. So I don't go into it, but that works for my thought process. All right. They tend to see on page 84, going back to, they tend to see only the successful individuals, what I just said, and companies, because the unsuccessful cases are not reported or underreported. We see, what is it, Tesla? Who's the owner of Tesla? I dropped that in the comments. I can't think of his name right now. I want to say Bezos, but it's not Bezos. The owner of Tesla. We have seen his success with Tesla, and some maybe not so much successful, because we saw what happened when it started freezing in America, that unprecedented level of a lot of states being very cold at one time. We saw people having problems with their Teslas, but we'll call it a success story. For every successful Tesla situation he's had, which would include Amazon, if that's 2, which would be the 20% that he's had success in, that means he's had 8 that were not successful. We don't talk about those. Do you even know what his 8 were that were not successful? I don't. I can Google. Listen, I'll Google it right now. Let's see what Google's going to tell me. Let's see if Google's going to tell me the ones that flopped for him. But we never look at that. We never think about that part. Elon Musk. So Elon Musk businesses that failed. The 6 failures and how he overcame them. What is Elon Musk's failed business? SpaceX is a failure. They're saying SpaceX is a failure. He's lost about 182 billion of his net worth since 2021. But we quote this man's success all the time. If all they talked about was the $182 billion he's lost, would we still be quoting him for all his wins? Are you willing to lose $182 in order to gain 300? When you started off, all you had was 182, or all you had was 300, or whatever the breakup would be. But he's on his 182 might be 1,820 for us. It says some estimate he's lost up to $200 billion, but nobody talks about that part. They tend to only, it says right here in The Art of Thinking Clearly. This is what thinking clearly means to me. Is you giving yourself more grace because you realize that nobody has it as great as we think they have it. We just talk about the highlight reel. It's almost like, should I take advice from a person who's lost $182 billion? Maybe you're the person that should be screaming like, grow up and be like him. But we don't look at that part of it. So it says here, imagine you are sampling wine in a restaurant and have to guess which country it is. The label of the bottle is covered. And if you're like me, he says in his book, you are not a wine connoisseur. The only lifeline you have is the base rate. You know from experience that about 3/4 of the wines on the menu are of French origin. So reasonably, you guess France, even if you suspect it's Chilean or Californian twist. No matter how smart and how ambitious you are, the most likely scenario is that you will end up in the middle management. He says, the way he sees it, my role is to give students a base rate crash course. With a degree from this school, your chance of landing a spot on the board of a Fortune 500 company is less than 0.1%. Now, am I saying this means you don't go for it? No. I have made it to the top 0.1% of the company I chose to partner with to run my business for the last 12 years. 0.1%. If all I thought about was the 99.9% of people who didn't make it there, I wouldn't have made it there. But it's the confident piece. I was confident that I had the abilities, and most of what Jeff Bezos, or I keep saying Jeff Bezos, but it's Elon Musk, is a confident brother, as a confident man. All right. He's confident that even though he lost 182 billion, he can run it right back. He can get it right back. There's losses I've had in my business in the last 12 years, but I am confident that I can get it back. Like no shadow of a doubt. All right. That's just the first part. Let's move into the next one. The next one I said I was going to talk about. That was really good. I think that was good. Drop it number 2 in the comments, or give me some love. Hit that heart button if you agree that was a good one. Out of all these on here, I think that was a good one. The next one is why teams are lazy. Page 98 is that one's on. Why teams are lazy. Teams become across lazy because the idea, this is so me too. I was like, oh, listen, look at all these underline notes in the tops, underline down there, underline over there. This one underlined down there. This one resonated me. Because if I'm first of all, I'm not a big proponent or a big fan of working in teams. I hate working in teams. And I think the reason I hate working on teams is because people don't show up 100% when they're a part of a team because they know the team is supposed to be working. The only time, and based on what he's saying here, which I totally agree with, is the only time you're going to get people's top ability in group work, teamwork, is when everybody has a specialized thing to do. So like in a group project at school, And the teacher takes the time to break up the class based on personalities and abilities. Meaning, say you have a class of 20 and do the math. 5 times 4 is 20. All right. So you have 5 groups. You need 4 people in each group. So you take all the people who are great presenters and you split them up. 1 presenter in each group. Then you take the people who are great at researching and you split them up. 1 researcher in each group. And then you take the artists, people who can draw well, and you put 1 artist per group. Those people in that group will perform at top rate because in their group, there's only 1 person who can draw. So they got to be the best drawer because they're competing with the best drawer in the other group. The researcher, because there's no other researchers in their group, is going to perform at a high level because they're competing with the researcher in another group, not somebody, they can't rely on anybody in their group to research because they're the only one that can do it. The speaker is going to do a great job speaking, but if it was different, let's say the teacher didn't split them up that way. And so you have 2 artists in a group. The artist will not show up to the top of his ability because he's like, I ain't got to do my best. Somebody else is going to do something too. I'm going to read to you how he puts this. Why invest all of your energy when half will do, especially when this little shortcut goes unnoticed, meaning y'all still going to make an A. And this is why I probably hate groups because I want the A. So these people are going to slack knowing that the A is important to me. So wherever they slack, I'm going to pick up on. That's why I hate groups. I hate it. Hate group work. It's like, I don't want to sign up for it. I'm not interested. And it doesn't work because people in a group know me. Like, I think it might work better if they have no idea who I was. So I can come into the group as a loafer. I can, yeah, I don't know how to do that. And then let them work at their highest ability. And then at the end, right before it's time to turn it in, I'm going to fix some things. So make sure we can get it an A. Like, I'm going to go through the rubric and be like, okay, so y'all did that, but y'all did it on level 7. We need a level 10. So I'm going to do 3. But if people know coming in that I operate at 10, then they're not going to operate at 10 because they know I'm going to do it. That's why I hate groups. So it says here, when people work together, individual performance decreases. But it backs it up and it gives an example of why this doesn't, how did this even get started? Let's go back. History is so important. How does it even get started? On page 99, I know this is y'all like, oh, I never thought of it like that. See, there's the things that I thought of, but I didn't understand the reason or the why behind it. So I'm reading this, I'm like, oh, I know this is true, but let's find out the reason and why. So this is based on history. Who came up with this idea that teams achieve more than individual workers? This is my theory. This is why I think people are performing better working from home by themselves because they can't rely on anybody else in the office place. When you're home, working from home, you don't really know what everybody else is doing at home. And you're not going to let the project fall because you can't see what they're doing at their house. You got to make sure that you're doing the best at your job so it can't come back on you. That's why I think we're getting more out of people who are working from home. That's just one theory. All right. I'm sure there's other parts to it, but that's one theory. It said this idea started probably, he says maybe, he's not for sure, but probably based on Japan. 30 years ago, Japan flooded the global market with their products. So 30 years ago is when we started getting all those products from Japan. And business economists looked closely at the industrial miracle and saw that Japanese factories were organized in teams. Here's the problem. I know as a previous elementary educator, here's the problem with adapting things that work well in other countries. We not them. Okay. So one of the things that was really big when I was in teaching was Singapore math. And they was like, oh, we're just going to take part of the Singapore system, math system, and bring it over here and expect the same results. It doesn't work like that because our culture is not the same as the Singapore culture. The way that they hold education up to a higher level of standard, like the households believe the importance behind it. Like our children can come home and they be like, we ain't doing that homework. All right. So you can't take a successful math program out of a different culture and say, we're going to put it in our culture, it's going to get the same results. No. Here's an example of this. On page 99, it says, the model was copied that the Japanese did in their factories with teams with mixed success. What worked very well in Japan cannot be replicated with the Americans and the Europeans, perhaps because social loafing rarely happens there. Rarely in Japan do people show up to teams and then cut back on how much they're going to give to their team. In Japan, when they show up and work as teams, it's basically like you're getting 4 people that's going to give a total of 400% because they're all going to give 100% to their team in Japan. Not in Europe and in America, though. You're going to get 4 people and one person's going to give 25, another person's going to give 25, another person's going to give 25 and 25. You get 100%. Well, if they weren't in teams, they got 100% from all of them. But now they're working together. They're like, oh, we're not giving it all. What's what we all here collectively. We're all going to do our part. I'm not going above and beyond. Y'all, listen, if it ain't you, I know it's me. So it says here that in the West, teams function better if and only if they are small and consist of diverse, specialized people. Like if I'm in a group of people or you're in a group of people and you are the specialized cook, you will perform 100% because you're specialized in that. And then if it's like say it's an event, okay? And in the event, there's a person who's responsible for the food. They're specialized in that. The person who's responsible for the lighting. They're going to do a hell of a job on the lighting. There's a person responsible for the marketing. They're going to do a hell of a job of marketing. But if you get an event and you put 4 marketing people on it, those 4 marketing people aren't going to perform at their highest level of abilities in marketing because there's 4 of y'all in there. This makes sense because within such groups, individualized performance can be traced back to each specialist. So if the food ain't right, you can't blame the lighting person. So the food person has to perform at best because if anything goes wrong with the food, everybody knows who to blame. But if there's 4 people in marketing and something goes wrong with marketing, you can't just pinpoint one person because they all as a group were responsible for marketing. That's why they don't perform at the highest. Because nobody wants to come back on them. I'm not giving my all because it's going to go right. It ain't going to be put all on me. You hear that? Understand that concept? That's the T. I don't even, listen, I don't think I'm even going to have time to go do the third one. Like that is the T right there. You need to grab this book. That what I like about what he says at the very beginning is this is not going to change your thinking about everything. But you will, my own words, is you will be able to decide if you're going to stick with what you've already been taught or told, or if you're going to apply what you know better. Meaning, like if I make a decision about a group work, if I'm a leader and I decide that we're going to split a project up, instead of evenly distributing the work amongst everybody, I'm going to specialize that you are responsible for this and you are responsible for this. Now, they need to collaborate because if the person for marketing has to be able to market what's actually happening with food. So they got to work together. They have to communicate, but they don't have to not make a decision on the food because you got to wait for the marketing person to tell you what it got to be. You see what I mean? So I will now look at how I break up groups to do teamwork differently just based on this. Okay. Or if something's not working and people are not performing at their highest ability, I can like, oh, it's because I got them in groups. So I can go into the group that's already created and say, hey, I think this will work better if we just, can you do this? Can you do this? And you do this part. Then they're all going to perform because now they know I'm going to know as the leader who's specific, or not just me, like the whole, whatever the goal is. Everybody will know that the goal didn't get met for this particular aspect because they were the only one responsible for that aspect. No, there can't be any finger pointing in that. All right, that is the T for this Tuesday. I will be back here next Tuesday, same time, same place in February. And I will put out the information where you can find me for this T. And I already have mapped out the trainings for the entire year, just like I did for the books. We know what books we're reading this year. I have mapped out the trainings that I'll be going over for the entire year on my business page for how to grow their accessory businesses over there. And next time, it says any lame excuse. All right, so that's one of the chapters. I probably talked about that one. Would you wear Hitler's sweater? Contagion bias. Oh, I like that. I might talk about that one. Contagion bias. If you have nothing to say nothing. Twaddle tendency. That's a good one too. Hurt so good. For justification. Oh, we be justifying our effort. Ooh. Wiki. Um, handle with care. Ooh, this next part is filled with so much tea. I remember that this one was how to expose a charlatan. Volunteer work is for the birds. Volunteers folly. All right, I'll see you back here with the Tuesday Tea with me, where I'm really talking about my business, but I will probably get in a little bit of your business. Bye.